Okay, well now that you've had a chance to go ahead and work with Dreamweaver a little bit and become familiar with the interface, it's time to go ahead and begin our first project website for this series. And again, we went over what the different projects were going to look like and the features they were going to have in the very first video. But if you want, let's go ahead and look at these again. And you can see this is going to be our first project website for a fictitious company called Shears Design. And you can see I've got basically a two-column layout here. One column for the latest news, and then a large central column for the content area. We're going to have several special features in this website, like this fading and sliding banner, as well as these rollover effects on these images here. If I come here to the services panel, you're going to see we've got a second layout, which is actually a full width or one column CSS layout. And we have a featured content slider on this page, and you can see it go from section to section. Inside of some of these sections, we are actually going to place some special features, such as on the dining room tab, we're going to go ahead and have this image gallery. You can see how I can select an image and the full version pops up for me. I've also got previous and next buttons, so I can very easily skip from image to image, as well as a close button in the lower right hand corner to return back to my main window. If we come here into another page, you can see here I'm actually doing a hybrid layout. At the top we've got a single column, but then in here towards the middle we've actually got a three-column layout. And then we switch back to the single column layout. So we're going to learn how to do not only the two-column layout and the full width layout, we'll learn how to do these hybrid layouts here. You see here I also have a link that says click for more information. Click here for more information. Just like we were able to bring up those pop-ups that showed us images, and those were actually called light boxes, we can bring up modal windows that show us text. So if I click here, you're going to see how it brings up a description or some more information. And if I click outside of it, it takes me back to my page. And again, there's another description that you can pop up. So this could be really useful for small bits of information that you need to attach to a page, but don't want to create a whole page especially for that. And then we're also going to do a contact form here, again with the validation script, which will give us an error and some information if we don't fill out the required information. And in this case, we're going to require name, email, and something in the comments field. So that's basically where we're going in this project. I'm going to go ahead and minimize my browser, and I've come back here to Dreamweaver. Now, my version of Dreamweaver may look slightly different than your version of Dreamweaver. And the reason for that is I've collapsed all of my panels to make them as small as possible. For example, the panels over here to the right, you're going to see they just have little button tabs here. If I click this double arrow in the upper right hand corner, you'll see that right there, that's going to expand those right hand panels out to their full width, so I can now see everything that's inside of them. If I click that again, you'll see they collapse and they're now taking up less space. And I like it like this because it gives me more room in my central content area to see the page code that I'm actually working on. But you can go back and forth just simply by clicking that double arrow there. And again, I called these the right-hand panels. These could be over to the left. If they are, there's absolutely no difference. It's just whether they're parked to the left or parked to the right. In my case, I have them parked to the right. You also have the Properties panel here in the lower left-hand corner. If I double-click on that tab, which is all I can see, you can see that jumps up for me. And since there's no page open, I actually don't see anything in here. But I can double click and collapse it again, and you'll see how that works. And what I do is I leave my panels sort of minimized or collapsed, so I have the maximum available space in this large area right here for the page or the code that I'm currently working on. Now, if you've downloaded the exercise files for this series, the next thing that we need to go ahead and do is add those exercise files, add that framework to Dreamweaver so that we can use it. So, in order to add the framework to Dreamweaver, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to the Site menu here and click New Site. And what we're going to do is we're just going to include the framework as a site in Dreamweaver so we can very quickly navigate between the resources that it contains and the site that we're actually building. For the site name, you're going to go ahead and type Timothy CSS Framework or Timothy Framework. And then you're going to come down here to Local Root Folder or Local Site Folder and click. You now have to navigate to wherever it is you saved that framework folder when you downloaded it from my site. In my case, I placed it on the desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Desktop, and there it is. I double click on it, and it should now say Select Timothy CSS Framework up here at the top. I'll click Select again, and we've now named it, and we've told it where the site folder is that contains that. So I can now go ahead and click Save, and after a moment, it's going to show me the contents of my framework. And again, I can click this little arrow right here to collapse that if I want. Whenever you see a double little arrow in the upper right-hand corner, that's always going to collapse a window. So we've gone ahead and we've added the framework, so we now have the materials. The next thing we need to do is actually go ahead and begin building the site. And step one in building your site is going to be to actually create a local site folder for your website. And again, you can save this wherever you want on your computer. I'm going to save it on my desktop so it's easy to get to. So I'm going to come into the Site menu and select New Site. And I'm just going to go ahead and call this Shears Design and Video Project. And I just put Video Project on the end of this because I already actually have created this website, and we're going to be able to switch back and forth between it. So I need some way of differentiating it. And then we're going to go ahead and choose the local root folder or the local site folder for this project. So I'm going to go ahead and click the little yellow folder icon right there, and it's going to bring me into an Open or Create New Folder dialog box. Now I'm actually on my desktop. You can go wherever you want on your computer. I'm going to go ahead and click the Create New Folder button here, and I'm going to go ahead and call this Shears Design. And then I'm going to double click on it to go inside of it. And again, it should say Select Shears Design, and then I'll click the Select button in the lower left-hand corner. When I'm finished, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. So you've now created an empty site that we can build the Shears Design website in, and you've also added the framework so we have access to the various materials that are in there where we're building the site. And again, you don't need the framework in order to complete the videos. It will speed things up though because you won't have to retype all of the code. And it's also an excellent resource for after the videos because you can actually build websites with that framework, any website that you want. In addition, it also contains templates for all the projects on my site. You can switch back and forth between sites inside of Dreamweaver by using this drop-down arrow here in the Files panel. If I click that drop-down arrow, you can see I've actually got the full project that I've finished right here. You'll see all the files there. There is the empty project right there. You'll see there's nothing in there. And then finally, there's the framework folder that contains all of the resources that you're going to use to build this site. And again, the sample project files will be in here as well in the sample projects folder. So I'm going to go ahead now and come back into Shears Design. And that's the one we're working on that's empty. So we've now gone ahead and set up this site. We've added the framework to Dreamweaver so we can get access to it. The next thing we need to do is actually begin to build out the structure for our website. Now, websites are created from hundreds, if not thousands, of different files. So it's very important that you go ahead and create some folders to organize your website. And you would do this exactly like you would organizing files, let's say in your My Documents folder. You just want to categorize folders so you can put particular types of things in there. To create a folder in your site, all you have to do is right-click on the folder that you want to create it inside of. So in my case, I'm going to right-click on the Site folder right up here and select New Folder. And one folder that every website, no matter how small it is going to need is going to be an Images folder. So I'm going to go ahead and type Images and hit Enter. You're also probably going to need, and you will for this exercise, a JavaScript folder and a CSS folder. So again, I'm going to right-click up here at the top and do New Folder and do CSS. That's where our style sheets will go. Right-click again up here and do New Folder and do JS. That's where our JavaScript is going to go. And again, you can create as many folders as you want here. The goal is to make sure that everything is organized so you can find things later on. You can even create folders inside of folders, which is frequently what you're going to do in the Images folder. For example, I may have a set of images specific to the banner for this site. So I can right-click on Images and do New Folder and type Banner. If I had images that were specific to the navigation of the site, like buttons or something like that, I'd right-click on Image, New Folder, and type in Nav. If I'm using icons, I might right-click New Folder and do Icons. So it isn't that you have to create the same folders all the time, but that you need to create some sort of meaningful organization system for the material in your website. What I usually do is use the exact same set of folders, so I'm always aware of where I put things. I've got a consistent organization system from point to point. And I'm going to go ahead and delete these folders that I've actually created. I'm going to right-click on Images here, do Edit and Delete, and yes, and I'll delete these other two folders right here as well. So now I'm back to just the plain, empty website folder. Now, if we click this drop-down arrow here and select the framework, a couple of things that you're going to notice. One is Site Start CSS based, and the other is Site Start table based. And what this does is it gives you a starting folder structure and some basic files whenever you're starting out a website. There are two different ways to create website layouts. One is called table-based layouts, and the other are called CSS-based layouts. Table-based layouts have a lot of drawbacks to them, and while they may be simpler to learn at first, you're quickly going to run into a lot of roadblocks that you can't overcome with a table-based layout. So in this case, we're doing a CSS-based layout. So I'm going to go ahead and click the little plus sign to the right of that, and you can see, again, I've got some folders here, as well as some empty files that are common to almost every website I create. And what you're going to do is you're going to click this topmost folder, hold down the Shift key on your keyboard with your left hand, and click the bottom folder to highlight all that. You're then going to go ahead and right-click anywhere on those highlighted folders, do Edit and Copy. So you copied this folder structure and the few files that we have inside of it. I now want to go ahead and skip back into my Shears Design folder here, and I'm going to right-click on the top, do Edit and Paste. And you're going to see it pasted in all those folders, as well as a few sample files that I'm going to begin to use to create the website. And again, there's a CSS file folder with a couple of style sheets inside of it, an Images folder that I've subdivided more. So I now have a folder for icons, for navigation, for PNG files, for raw images. And I also have a JavaScript folder here that has jQuery in it, which we're going to use quite a bit in this series, as well as a personal JavaScript file right here. Finally, we have a PHP folder, and the only thing that I've placed in there is going to be our form mailer. We need some sort of a script that will actually turn a form into an email and mail that to us. And this is that script that makes that possible. And I'm going to go ahead and collapse all these. And finally, I've got a couple of HTML files here to begin work on. So what we've done in this exercise video is we've successfully gone ahead and added the framework files, as well as created a new site and structure for our project website. In the next video, we're going to begin to add code to these pages, and we're going to see how that works. Before we do that, though, we're going to have a brief overview of what HTML is and how to use it. So I'll see you in the next video.